So let's talk about pension fund claims, right? Why do they get so unpredictable? What happens when somebody dies and their pension is left behind? All of a sudden, the people who are listed as the nominated beneficiaries are not getting what is necessarily written down in that nomination form. Instead, things are changed around. What normally causes this, right? And what type of situations have we seen? And why does this happen? And lastly, we're going to answer the question of what is it that you can do so that things turn out for the better for your family or those people that you have nominated as your beneficiaries. Welcome to yet another episode. My name is Yolanda Nyengeza. I'm an attorney by profession. I run a law firm called Nyengeza Attorneys, and it's based in Johannesburg, South Africa. So without further ado, I think let's just get into the topic. So what is it that we have seen when it comes to pension funds and their payouts, which has been seen as something bizarre by some, but you'll understand why these things happen. One, first and foremost, when you have a pension fund offered by your employer, one of the first things that they're going to ask you to do is to fill out a nomination form. Now, what's the purpose of this nomination form? You are going to list people here whom you want to benefit from this pension fund, just in case you pass away before you have cashed out that pension fund, right? So that the monies can be then given to the list of people you're going to add on as beneficiaries. Now, what normally happens again is that you're going to list these people and also the percentages that you want them to get in terms of the money that you might just leave behind. But irrespective of this requirement, irrespective of people being implored to draft a nomination form nominating their own beneficiaries, it does happen at times that additional beneficiaries are added after the deceased's death. Who's the deceased? The person who had that pension fund. Now the question often is, why? Who qualifies to be added as such? And in the first place, if they were going to add more people, why did I have to write a nomination form? Let's talk about this. Now, in terms of the Pension Funds Act, even though you have listed beneficiaries in your nomination form, the pension fund trustees still have a discretion, as per Section 37C, to add on more beneficiaries, or rather people who are going to benefit here. And normally these people, we call them factual dependents. What do we mean by factual dependents? Now, possibly this person who had this pension fund, yes, they would have listed these people that they want to benefit from this pension fund. But then during their lifetime and prior to their death, they were consistent in also taking care of other people, siblings, a partner, or a child's partner that is not theirs. They were consistent. They were helping them with paying for doctors. They were taking care of this and that. And this type of, action actually created an impression in the minds of the trustees that, know what, this person had an intention to take care of these people throughout their lifetime. Now that they have passed away, we have to make sure that their wishes, even though we are inferring their wishes based on their actions, we got to give them something here, right? They probably forgot to add these people as their beneficiaries. These are people we call factual beneficiaries. Obviously, a lot of people tend to not understand and get very exasperated when this happens, because it means what? It means now the people that were added there on that nomination form are now going to get much less, because now we're adding what? We're adding more people. And what have we seen in the past? We've seen in the past pension fund trustees do what? Actually give those additional people much more than what those who were listed there were meant to get. Bizarre, but it is the Pension Funds Act that gives the trustees this kind of power. Second thing that we have seen is a situation where the percentages have been shifted around. Now, as much as, again, You may have listed, let's say, 2 people here, and you have said this one is going to get 70%, the other is going to get 30%. Again, the Pension Funds Act gives the trustees the discretion to change those percentages. That's also something that we have seen. A case in point was where the deceased pension fund owner actually passed away, right? Or recipient, we could say, passed away before cashing her pension fund. She had listed her son to get 90% and her mother to get 10%. This claim was delayed until the child was a minor. I mean, was a major for some reason, because at the time she passed away, the child was a minor. At the time which this claim was made, the percentages were changed extremely. The mother was going to get 90 and the son was to get 10%. Now, can this be done? Yes, it can. And in this particular instance, it stood. Why? Simply because the major child, unfortunately, took action to try and dispute this at a later stage. But the point I want you to get here is the pension fund trustees can change around percentages that you have listed there, because they have to investigate and make sure that there's a fair and equitable payment of the pension fund. And so if they feel that based on the evidence that they have, the percentages are just not in alignment, they can change them, and they do have that particular discretion. Lastly, one of the other things that we have seen is legal dependents coming into the picture, and easily so. Who are legal dependents? First, we talked about factual dependents and we defined them. Now, legal dependents are the people that you are legally obligated to take care of, i.e. a child, i.e. a spouse. Now, as you know, in South African law, once you get married, you create what we call a reciprocal duty between yourselves as the spouses, meaning that you've got to take care of your spouse, and your spouse also has an obligation to take care of you. So even if you are separated for 20 years with your spouse, a legal dependent can come from wherever it is that they've been sitting. If you happen to die and you did not nominate them, and they can come and say, I want something from here because I'm a legal dependent. And by virtue of the law, they have got to be considered. And we have seen situations where they have gotten much more than the rest of the nominated beneficiaries, because they came guns blazing as legal dependents. Now, in all of these situations, obviously, a lot of people tend to be disgruntled, and understandably so. But then again, what is it that you can do to minimize some of these, i.e., getting additional beneficiaries, i.e. having legal dependents spring out of nowhere when you have not spoken to them for years, no relationship whatsoever, distant? How can you make sure that these people don't get access to those claims? And also, in a situation where percentages are changed around, what is it that you can do to try and curb this, or rather minimize the chances of this happening? Let's talk about it. Now, how can you make sure that the pension fund trustees are not going to have, the leeway to make these kinds of changes? But what can you do to curb these consequences? One, in the issue of additional beneficiaries, you just need to be mindful of who you're going to take care of and how, right? Because understandably so, we want to take care of our family members and other people in our lives, but you must just know that if you do so as much as these other folks have done so consistently, you create an impression that you want to take care of them for a lifetime. So, which means you have to now change that. How that looks like in practice is something you're going to have to think about and act differently, because they're going to look at what you've been giving to whoever is going to be regarded as a factual dependent. So based on your understanding, what you're giving to that person who might just qualify as a factual dependent, could it result in that person being listed as one of the beneficiaries, added beneficiaries on that pension fund? If that is the case, you must be thinking about how to curb your actions, because otherwise those people might just get a chance to also get something from your pension fund, unfortunately. And then with regards to the issue of also percentages being shifted around, you cannot create a certain impression in your lifetime that you want to take care of a certain person in a certain way, and you do so exponentially, and then the percentages don't align with this. Because what happens is that the pension fund trustees want people to attest to how they were taken care of, and they're going to assess also what others say about this. And once it comes to light that no, they wanted so-and-so to be taken care of much more than the other party, and this doesn't corroborate with what is listed on that nomination form, they might just change things around. And in this particular instance, it's important that people claim for the pension fund as early as possible, because also the information becomes distorted over time. But then if the claim is made as soon as possible, things have happened now, and there are probably certain factors that are going to be considered because this person just recently passed away. Do not wait for 10 years. Do not wait for 6 months. It's not necessary. I know there's this impression often from people that if you try to claim things as soon as possible, you probably, happy about this, etc. Such things should not even be something that you're concerned about, because in this day and age, it is critical to act as soon as possible if you want things to go in accordance. And with regards to the last aspect, that of legal dependence, springing up from, anywhere to come and claim because they know they're supposed to be given that opportunity. Here, you need to think deeply about sorting out your affairs, more especially if you are married to someone who is living their life as though they are not married. It is time for you to take action. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, because otherwise there is nothing that you can do right now that is going to solve that situation. So long as they have ties with you, that person can come from wherever it is that they're going to come from, and they will have to be entertained to get something. And if the pension fund trustees see that they should get something and much more, they will give them that amount of money. And your family, I'm telling you, will be disgruntled as many have been. So make sure you take these particular actions. And also it's important, guys, as you're doing your estate plan, or rather planning, you want to think about your things holistically. You want to ask your estate planner as much questions as possible so that this whole thing of yours makes sense. Pension funds are important. They play a pivotal role, right? A lot of people, when they pass away, this is the amount of money that gets to take care of their families. So would you want to compromise what your families get? Or because you don't want to act in accordance, you don't want to bring your conduct back in line? Think about it, make the right decision. This brings us to the end of the discussion, guys. We shall see you next time. But before we go, I just have a reminder, in case you did not see this, we're hosting a workshop, or rather a webinar, on the 19th of April 2025. What are we talking about? We're talking about trusts. What are trusts? Right? How useful are they in estate planning? And what is the difference between a normal trust and a special trust? What are the benefits? Should I be choosing a company for my estate planning or choosing a trust? What are the things I should be considering in this instance before I make a decision? Listen, if you have these questions, you better join us on the 19th of April 2025. To do so, just send us an email so that you can secure your spot. We shall see you next time when we have something better to talk about. See you.